Hi everyone, it's Natalie here. So we're ready for the second septenary, which I'll probably film today because I tend to film these all in chunks and then, put them out in chunks. So for those of you who've been sticking around for all of these videos, thank you so much. I'm so excited that you're on this journey. At any point in time. So, maybe as we're putting them out or maybe later on. I know that with the Marielle videos, I hear from people, those were mostly from 2020. And I'm still hearing from people regularly who discover them and are very excited about them. Oops, all I had to do was just one little nudge there, one little nudge. Okay, so let's move into these. So these are paired together, and I think that they're paired together in this way because Bruno Letitzia felt that that was the best way to communicate the meaning and significance of these two bodhisattvas together. So if the term bodhisattva is new to you, and I doubt that it is if you're watching this, but it might be, a bodhisattva is someone who has attained a very, very high level of enlightenment, but has chosen not to simply move on into the state of Buddhahood where they don't incarnate necessarily. And so the bodhisattvas tend to continue to emanate as multiple people and multiple incarnations, or they tend to reincarnate. Such an example would be the Dalai Lama, who is in theory I believe that the Dalai Lama is an incarnation of Avalokitesvara, the great bodhisattva of compassion. But there are many deeply enlightened beings in Tibetan cosmology that are believed to emanate, right? So they have multiple emanations. My main teacher, Lama, is believed to be an emanation of Machi Glabdron, the 11th century fully enlightened teacher. So, there may be multiple emanations of Machi in the world that we don't even know about, right? I would imagine there probably are. But she's actually has been recognized because of her level of remarkable attainment under some pretty unfavorable and difficult circumstances. So just a little bit of background there. So they continue to kind of incarnate and do difficult things. They continue to do hard things that most of us would shun or run away from because we don't like hard things, because they're enlightened and they understand the value that is brought as a result of their enlightened activities, right? The potential to relieve suffering. So what does that mean in terms of the Justice card and the Hermit card, and how do we interpret that here? So the Justice card in this deck is an image of Akashagarbha. And Akashagarbha is the bodhisattva of the void store. Okay, so he represents everything that is in the void, that is unexpressed, or potential, that there's any potential for, which means that he also is a bodhisattva of tremendous wisdom, profound wisdom, in a similar fashion that we would find Manjushri, who carries his wisdom sword, although I don't believe he does in this deck at all, but he usually carries a sword, and I believe that that's also what Akashagarbha is carrying here. Now, what we want to understand too about this iconography, which is Tibetan, is that he is completely filled with compassion. So normally we would see this type of depiction with like the bodhisattva on the water with a big wave, and the potential for being drowned, riding on a sea animal, usually a dragon. We would usually see that for Guan Yin, right? So that's where we're normally accustomed to seeing that. Here, we're seeing Akashagarbha riding on this on this koi fish in a similar fashion because of his profound compassion. So this is very true to the Tibetan iconography that you can find on Himalayan Art Resources. It's almost identical in many respects. His element is ether, which is why he's either shown as being green or blue, because if you recall, green and blue are the colors of water and space, or rather water and air, or, you know, blue sometimes is both water and, water and space or ether, and green is often air and ether or air and space, right? So all potential karmic activities that we engage in would be pacified and or purified through Akasha Garbha. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. So as the Justice card, we're meeting not with a hard justice, right? We're meeting with the potential that justice could also include the possibility of clearing negative karma, okay, and drawing from the void store the potential and possibility for something better, something different, something that literally purifies everything around us, or around the person, the querent. That's what I want, the querent, right? So I think it was Lee, who watches the videos, pointed out very, very, very wisely and intelligently that, you know, the beauty of this deck is the way in which Bruno Letitzia offers us the possibility of not only understanding the circumstances that we're in, but also the potential medicine or solution or way of managing, coping, handling, understanding that situation as well, right? So we have the seeds of resolution inside of, you know, the answer, what do I do? What do I do about it? We have the answer here already inside the cards, okay? Which is probably a concept I'll continue to repeat because it is the truth. It is the way that the deck is created. So we also have the twin brother of Akasha Garbha, who is Ksiti Garbha, or as I knew him in Korean Zen, Jichang Bosal, right? Or Ditsang Busa in, I believe, in Chinese, and Jizo in Japanese. Okay. Now, let's see, there was something else I thought was really interesting. I'm going to leave it alone. So the thing we have here, what do we have here? What's being portrayed here? So the Hermit. The interesting thing about these two are regarded as twins. I can't remember if I already said that or not, but these two are generally regarded as being twin bodhisattvas, right? They're brothers. Where this one is the void store, this one is the earth store. So this one is monitoring the void, this one is monitoring what happens on earth. And the story that I love about, you know, I don't have a personal relationship to, I should say, with Akasha Garbha, although why shouldn't I? I mean, why wouldn't any of us? It seems there are so many different, in my research, so many different sources I came across that mention how many different mantras and dharanis there are devoted to Akasha Garbha. So just probably something that I have not come across much in my practice yet as a Tibetan Buddhist, but perhaps later on, or just may not be featured heavily in the lineages that my teachers come from. So, but with Jichang Bosal, or with Ksiti Garbha, when he became fully enlightened, his choice was to remain in the hell realms instead of becoming a fully enlightened Buddha, because he vowed that he would continue to occupy that space and work hard to free everyone from the hell realms, which is a very lonely job. right? So, you know, the task, so why is that? How does that relate to the Hermit? Well, frequently we all find ourselves in the hell realms, right? We all find ourselves in a space where we feel like we're just suffering, right? And what is hell? Hell is suffering. You know, there are certain French philosophers and playwrights that espouse that hell is other people, but you know, which I think is maybe a good way of remembering that, right? But you know, if you want to escape the hell realms, yeah, you're going to want to get away from other people, because that intermixing of difficulty can create further suffering that we don't want, right? But also, it's helpful, I think, too, just to think in terms of, if we want to suffer less, the best way to resolve it is to look inside. You know, what is it inside of me that is creating that difficulty? And when we're really suffering, and we need to understand that suffering, and we, you know, it's a heavy kind of suffering. I used to find chanting the name Jichang Bosal, you know, and Gido chanting the way that in Korean style, to be incredibly helpful. In Korean traditions, you just chant the Bodhisattva's name, and their name alone has enough power to clear, to create that connection and clear the suffering. Okay, and that actually was very much my experience in practice. It really was. So, you know, if you are suffering, you can try that over and over and over. Jichang Bosal, Jichang Bosal, Jichang Bosal, on and on and on. And we actually had a little tune that went with it. You can probably find it on the internet. Perhaps I'll find it here and link it. But yeah, it's really helpful. You can also find a great deal out there about Ksitigarbha. There's a lot of different associations with him, as, you know, protector of children, as a protector of the earth itself, right? But he engages in very lonely jobs. But because his intent is not to have others suffer, he also carries this interesting staff, which I shouldn't have put him down too quickly. That little staff is actually metal, and it jingles, so that as he walks, every living being out there knows he's coming, and he can't possibly mistakenly step on them. And hopefully they will understand also his peaceful intent, right? So again, you know, the lesson here, I think, is of being alone in order to discover one's inner light. You know, or if we are suffering, time spent alone is what we need. So with the Justice card, you know, justice comes as a result of purifying our karma, very simply put. And with the Hermit, we are relieving suffering by spending time alone, understanding that suffering, and relieving it on our own. But of course, as always, with I think with all Buddhism, but definitely in Tibetan Buddhism, the practice is always that we step into those practices with the intent of relieving the suffering of ourselves in order to benefit all beings everywhere without one exception. So we do this both on both sides. So we're relieving we're magnetizing, you know, all possibilities inside the void in order to alleviate negativity and karma, in order to benefit all beings. Similarly here, you know, the Hermit is doing the same thing. Okay, so that is Justice and the Hermit.